Someone says something. It's a tiny thing, a tone of voice, a glance, a brief comment, but a fire ignites within you. You feel a tightness in your chest, your jaw clenches, and your thoughts begin to race. You tell yourself to stay calm, to not overreact, but it's already too late. The reaction is already happening. Before you can stop it, you've said something you wish you could take back, or you've withdrawn into a cold silence. Hours later, you're still replaying the moment in your head, long after it has passed. Why does this happen? Why is it so hard to let things go? Why can another person's mood completely take over your own? Why do their words have the power to dictate your emotions, even when you know, logically, that they shouldn't? There is a powerful idea that suggests an answer. It is the idea that everything that irritates us about other people can actually teach us something important about ourselves. But most of us don't want a lesson. We want peace. We want to feel in control. We want to be undisturbed, to be immune to judgment, rejection, or criticism. So we turn to quick fixes. We practice deep breathing. We try to detach from our feelings. We ignore people, block their numbers, and meditate. We pretend to be calm, hoping that eventually the pretense will become reality. But it never lasts. The calm shatters the moment we are put under pressure. The reason these fixes don't work is that the trigger isn't coming from the other person. The trigger is coming from something deep inside you. If you've ever found yourself wondering, why do I get angry so easily? Or why can one person completely ruin my day? Then this is for you. This isn't about learning to be emotionless. It's about learning to be free. If you have ever longed for a kind of inner peace, so profound that no one else's chaos could ever disturb it, then you are on the right path. This journey isn't about them. It's about you. The idea is that every person we meet acts like a mirror. They reflect back to us the parts of ourselves that we have hidden away. And our anger is a reaction to seeing that reflection. Someone has touched a sensitive spot. They haven't done this because they are powerful, but because they have unknowingly pointed to a part of you that you have been trying to avoid. You don't get angry when someone insults a part of you that you have already accepted. If you know you are a messy person and someone calls you messy, it probably won't bother you. But you get angry when they touch on something that is fragile, unconscious, unloved, and unclaimed within you. Maybe their comment made you feel small, not because you actually are small, but because there is a part of you, deep down, that still fears you are. Maybe they ignored you, and suddenly, an old wound of feeling unseen, a wound that might have been there since your childhood, flares up like a fresh injury. That's not their fault. It's a signal. Your anger is a message, not a problem. The key is not to suppress it, but to translate it. The next time you feel that flash of anger, ask yourself, what part of me did this moment awaken? Why did I feel such a strong need for them to see me or respect me? Why did I feel the need to defend myself so fiercely? When you dig beneath the surface of your immediate reaction, you will always find a story. And most of the time, that story has very little to do with the person standing in front of you. Our past creates emotional patterns, like grooves on a record. When you get triggered, you are not just reacting to what is happening right now. You are reacting to all the times in the past that you felt this way. You are reacting to the parent who never listened, to the friend who betrayed you, to the moment you learned that it was safer to be silent than to speak your truth. So now, you defend yourself, or you shut down, or you burn bridges. You do this to protect the part of you that never felt safe. Here is a difficult truth. Most people don't really want peace. They want control over the outside world, so they never have to confront the chaos they feel inside. But control is not peace. It's just anxiety wearing a more presentable mask. True peace doesn't come from avoiding difficult people. It comes from confronting the part of you that reacts to them. When you begin to understand this, your anger no longer owns you. It becomes information. It becomes an invitation to heal. So the next time someone bothers you, don't focus on them. Ask yourself, what did they awaken inside of me? Where have I felt this feeling before? What story am I telling myself about this situation? The truth is, no one has the power to make you angry. They only have the power to show you where your healing is needed. You think the problem is them. Their tone of voice, their timing, the way they speak to you as if you don't matter. You focus on how they always interrupt or how they turn everything into a competition. But what if the problem isn't them at all? When two people interact, it's like two chemical substances coming into contact. If there is a reaction, both are changed. You are not just being bothered. You are being shown a reflection of yourself. The reason certain people drive you crazy is not because they are bad people. It's because they are reflecting a part of you that you haven't fully accepted. Maybe you can't stand arrogant people because deep down, you are taught that being confident was a bad thing. Maybe you get irritated by people who talk too much because you are never given the space to speak freely yourself. Maybe people who seem emotionally distant get under your skin because you are afraid of your own need for emotional connection. The difficult truth is that you are not reacting to them. You are reacting to the part of you that you see in them, the part you have rejected in yourself. This is what some call the shadow. It's the version of yourself that you were told was too much, too loud, too weak, too sensitive, too selfish, or too needy. So, you locked that part of you away. You pretended it didn't exist. You built a personality, a persona that was the complete opposite. Quiet, logical, helpful, and accommodating. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It just hides. And when you meet someone who openly lives out the very qualities you have buried, you feel an intense surge of anger. Let's say you pride yourself on your emotional intelligence. You have worked hard to be a calm, mature person who listens and breathes before reacting. Then you encounter someone who is loud, dramatic, and completely out of control. You feel an instant wave of anger. But here is the twist. It's not them you hate. It's what they awaken in you. They awaken the memory of a time when you were out of control, or when you were punished for being emotional, or when you were made to feel embarrassed for taking up too much space. Your anger is an unprocessed memory. The people who trigger you the most are like walking flashbacks. You think you are angry at this person in the present, but you are really angry at a younger version of yourself, the one who was never allowed to be those things. The goal isn't to avoid these people. The goal is to study your reaction to them, because your reaction is where the real learning happens. When you stop blaming them, you start to awaken. You begin to realize that the reason you feel so powerless around certain people is because you have given them the power to validate the parts of you that are still unhealed. The reason you feel rejected isn't because they said no. It's because your sense of self was built on the need to be accepted. The reason you get so defensive is because deep down, you still believe that your worth is something that needs to be proven. So how do you master this? You stop reacting and start reflecting. You ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me about myself? Where have I felt this way before? Am I angry because they are wrong, or because they touched on something raw and sensitive within me? Emotional mastery isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming completely transparent to yourself. The shadow is not something to be destroyed. It is something to be integrated. And integration means this. When someone triggers you, you get curious instead of furious. When someone disrespects you, you set a firm boundary, but you do it without hatred. When someone leaves you, you let them go without making it a story about your lack of worth. That is real power. It's not the power to control other people. It's the power to stay centered in yourself, no matter what they do. Imagine this. You are in a room with someone who used to trigger you intensely. They use the same tone of voice. They have the same arrogant attitude. The same emotional chaos swirls around them. But this time, you don't flinch. You don't feel the need to defend yourself. You don't collapse inward. You see them clearly for who they are. But more importantly, you see yourself clearly. The fire that used to consume you is gone. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you are no longer projecting your own issues onto them. You have made peace with the parts of yourself that they used to activate. And because of that, they no longer have any power over you. This is what it means to become a whole, individuated person. You cannot become whole if you are constantly at war with your own reflection. But the moment you stop blaming the mirror, you can start healing the image it shows you. And in that process, your anger transforms into wisdom. Imagine walking into a room. People are talking over you. Someone makes a sarcastic comment in your direction. Someone else gives you that look, the one that always used to make your blood boil. But this time, nothing happens inside you. There's no tension, no knee-jerk reaction, no downward spiral of negative thoughts. You notice it, but you don't absorb it. You are not being cold. You are not suppressing your feelings. You are simply free. This is what integration feels like. Most people think that peace is the absence of emotion. They mistake numbness for power. But real peace is not about becoming untouchable on the outside. It is about owning what is inside you, so completely and so consciously that nothing on the outside has any leverage over you anymore. You want to stop getting angry. You want to stop feeling bothered, drained, and thrown off balance by other people's moods, words, and opinions. Here is the truth. You can't control the world, but you can stop making the world responsible for your sense of self-worth. Anger is just a signal. It's not a sin or a flaw. It's a flare sent up from your shadow, telling you that you have given someone else too much power. And the way to take that power back is not through control, but through integration. So, what does integration really mean? It means you stop splitting your identity into pieces. You stop trying to be the nice one while burying your rage. You stop trying to be the strong one while hiding your grief. You stop trying to be the calm one while swallowing chaos. Integration means allowing the full truth of who you are to exist, at least internally. It's when you no longer need the world to reflect your value back to you, because you have looked at your own reflection and you didn't flinch. You want to be unbothered? Start by meeting the version of yourself that you have been avoiding. The one who gets jealous. The one who desperately wants validation. The one who feels small, insecure, reactive, rageful, and afraid. And instead of judging that part of yourself, just hold it. Don't try to fix it. Don't shame it. Just be with it. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of your being, but by the integration of all your contrary parts. What makes you emotionally untouchable is not that you have no wounds. It's that your wounds no longer own you. Someone can mock you, but it doesn't hurt, because you have already made peace with your flaws. Someone can ignore you, but you don't feel abandoned, because you no longer confuse their attention with love. Someone can leave you, but you don't collapse, because you have learned never to leave yourself. Most people want emotional control. They want to shut their feelings down and be above it all. But that isn't power. That's fear wearing a mask. Real emotional power is when you can feel everything without becoming it. You can feel anger, but respond with clarity. You can feel triggered, but stay grounded in your own sense of self. You can feel misunderstood, but no longer feel the desperate need to be explained. That's when you become untouchable. Not because you are invincible, but because you are real. And reality doesn't flinch. So, how do you get there? You stop asking, why are they like that? And you start asking, why does this still have the power to move me? Every trigger is a teacher. Every reaction is a map. Every moment of anger is a door. And on the other side of that door is the part of you that is waiting to be seen. People will always be people. Some will be kind, some will be cruel, some will be healing, some will be toxic. But once you have met your own shadow, No one else gets to use it against you. You own your story. You own your reactions. You own your boundaries. And when you do that, you stop defending. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You become still, like a mountain, unbothered by the wind. There comes a moment when the world tries to provoke you, and you simply don't move. Not because you are passive, and not because you are numb, but because you are finally free. That is the moment you have moved beyond emotional survival and stepped into psychological sovereignty. Let's be clear. This isn't about becoming indifferent or emotionless. It is about becoming so centered in who you are that no one else's noise can rewrite your internal script. That's the power you've been chasing. And it doesn't come from avoiding your triggers. It comes from disarming them. You are no longer angry because you don't outsource your identity anymore. If they don't respond to your text, you stay grounded. If they mock you, you don't shrink. If they forget about you, you remember yourself. If they misunderstand you, you stop trying to explain something that already feels whole inside of you. You don't react because you no longer require anything from them. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And when you choose to become whole, no one gets to define you ever again. Not by their praise, not by their insults, and not by their silence. Here's where it gets real. The very people who used to trigger you will start to feel different. Not because they have changed, but because you have reclaimed the part of you that they once activated. That ex who once made you feel invisible, now they are just a person. That friend who always talks over you. You no longer feel silenced because you no longer need their permission to speak. That coworker who tries to undermine you. Their opinions lose their sting because their view of you no longer anchors your self-respect. You used to live your life in response to others. Now, you live in a relationship with yourself. And once you do that, you are no longer reactive. You become responsible, responsive, and rooted. You are no longer trying to protect an image because you have made peace with your reality. The goal isn't happiness. It's wholeness, and wholeness means your anger isn't the problem. It's a pointer. Your discomfort isn't a failure. It's feedback. Your triggers aren't your enemies. They are your messengers. And once you truly listen to what they have to say, they stop yelling. People will still judge you. They will still project their own issues onto you. They will still misunderstand you. But none of it will stick, because you are no longer shaped by their version of you. You have built something stronger, a self that doesn't need to be managed, a self that doesn't need to be validated, a self that no longer takes things personally, because nothing personal can reach someone who truly knows who they are. That is the final freedom. It isn't silence, but stillness. It isn't ignorance, but awareness. It isn't dominance, but integration. You can walk into any room, see any face, hear any words, and still remain untouched. Not because you have built walls around yourself, but because you no longer have any leaks. Your boundaries are sacred. Your energy is finally yours again. And your peace is not a performance. It's the truth. What if the people who hurt you were never your enemy? What if the words that stung, the tones that pierced, and the judgments that burned through your chest were all just mirrors? Not mirrors of who you are, but of who you have forgotten to be. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You thought the anger came from them, their ignorance, their coldness, their tone. But it wasn't them. It was your own unconscious mind, pulling you back into an old wound, again and again, until you finally turned around and looked at it. Until you finally owned it. That's the paradox. You stop being triggered not when people get kinder, but when you stop borrowing your identity from their behavior. The moment you can say, I am not your perception of me. I am not your approval or your rejection. I am not your silence or your praise. That is the moment you stop flinching. That is the moment you stop shrinking. That is the moment you stop over-explaining. That is the moment you finally come home to yourself. Every time someone triggered you, they weren't showing you your limits. They were showing you your gaps, the places inside you that were still fragile, still defined by survival, still shaped by stories that were never really yours to begin with. You thought strength meant not reacting. You thought that if you could just be calm enough, quiet enough, and emotionally still enough, no one could ever get to you. But that isn't peace. That's fear with good posture. Real peace is when someone lashes out at you, and you stay rooted. Not because you are numb, but because you see through it. You see their pain. You see your old wound. And you don't get pulled into either of them. That's the final realization. You are not here to defend yourself from the world. You are here to meet yourself through the world. Every argument, every trigger, every passive-aggressive silence, every person who ever made you question your worth, they were never here to break you. They were here to bring you back to yourself. Now, you don't need them to get it. You don't need closure from them. You don't need revenge. You don't need to be proven right. You've already chosen yourself. And once you truly do that, nothing else sticks. You begin to walk through life with a different presence. Not cold, not guarded, but clear. You can smile at people who once hurt you, not because what they did didn't matter, but because you have made peace with what had awoke in you. You stop fearing rejection because you no longer reject yourself. You stop chasing validation because your worth is no longer outsourced. You stop overthinking every interaction because your center is no longer up for negotiation. This is what it means to become the person you were always meant to be, once you stop trying to become what the world rewards. And when you get there, you don't get angry. You get still. You don't get reactive. You get present. You don't carry grudges. You carry clarity. If this has struck a chord deep inside you, know this. The fact that you have been triggered means you are alive. It means you are ready for the next stage of your growth. You are not weak for feeling. You are powerful for being willing to face it. Most people will never do this work. They will spend their entire lives blaming the mirror for what they see in it, and they will die without ever knowing who they truly were. But you are here. And that means you are already changing. So now, the real question is, what kind of person do you become when nothing outside of you gets to control who you are anymore? What happens when you stop hiding behind a facade of calm and start building your peace from a foundation of truth? If this has helped you find that question within yourself, perhaps someone else needs to find it too. And if you are ready to stop being controlled by the noise of the world, then you are on the right path. This is a path where we don't numb our feelings. We don't run from them. We look at our shadow and we integrate it, one truth at a time. If this has hit you where it hurts, take a moment and feel it. Because now, no one gets to decide your power but you. This entire journey is about moving from a state of reaction to a state of conscious response. It is the difference between being a leaf blown about by the wind and being a deeply rooted tree that can feel the wind but is not broken by it. This transformation requires courage. It is far easier to blame the other person, to label them as toxic, and to cut them out of your life. While setting boundaries is essential for well-being, the deeper work involves understanding why certain behaviors affect you so profoundly. This self-inquiry is not an intellectual exercise. It is a deeply felt, embodied process. It means allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of the trigger without immediately acting on it. It means sitting with the anger, the hurt, or the shame, and asking it what it has to teach you. This is the path of the spiritual warrior, the one who is brave enough to turn inward and face the dragons that reside within. Each trigger then becomes an opportunity, a sacred invitation to reclaim a lost part of yourself. The people who irritate you the most are, in a sense, your greatest teachers. They are holding up a mirror to the parts of you that are longing for your attention and acceptance. By embracing this perspective, you begin to alchemize your pain into power, your wounds into wisdom. Your relationships transform, not necessarily because the other people change, but because you are no longer playing the same old game. You are no longer seeking their approval or fearing their rejection. You are anchored in a sense of self that is not contingent on external validation. This is the ultimate freedom, a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, but emanates from the very core of your being. This inner peace radiates outward, influencing your interactions and the energy you bring into the world. You become a calming presence, not because you are suppressing your emotions, but because you have integrated them. You have faced your shadow, and in doing so, you have discovered a light that cannot be extinguished. You understand that everyone is on their own journey, fighting their own battles, and this understanding fosters a deep sense of compassion, both for yourself and for others. You no longer see people as good or bad, but as souls at different stages of their own evolution. This does not mean you condone harmful behavior, but it allows you to respond from a place of clarity and wisdom, rather than from a place of reactivity and judgment. You can set firm boundaries with love and respect, both for yourself and for the other person. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their own inner world, and you no longer take it personally. This is the essence of emotional sovereignty. It is the realization that you are the ultimate authority in your own life. You are the creator of your own experience. No one can make you feel anything without your consent. By taking full responsibility for your emotional well-being, you reclaim your power and step into a life of purpose, authenticity, and profound inner peace. A journey of integration is a lifelong process. There will be moments when you fall back into old patterns, when you get triggered and react in ways you thought you had moved beyond. This is not a sign of failure, but a part of the human experience. The key is to approach these moments with self-compassion and curiosity. Each time you catch yourself in a reaction, you have an opportunity to learn and grow. You can ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? And what part of me is asking for love and attention? By consistently turning inward with kindness and acceptance, you strengthen your connection to your authentic self and deepen your capacity for love, both for yourself and for the world. This is the path to wholeness, a path that is available to each and every one of us, should we have the courage to walk it. The rewards are immeasurable: a life of freedom, authenticity, and a peace that surpasses all understanding.